welcome back to Reality with Reality Hub. On today's episode, we meet with a young actor and filmmaker, Jacob Masters. Now, Jacob and I recently met on a local TV production called Head High, where we were doing some acting work together. And while we had a good time talking on set, when I found out about his new web series project, I knew he'd be a great guest for Reality Hub to come and talk about it. So let's head on over now to the cafe and meet him.
Rob, meet Jacob. Jacob, Rob.
Rob, hello, Rob.
Hello, Jacob, and welcome to Reality Hub.
Yeah, it's great to have you here.
good to have
Thank you
you.
for having me. This is the first experience of this sort of caliber, and it's
First podcast?
very exciting. Yeah, first
Oh,
podcast.
cool.
I'm going to see how
Yeah.
many great words I can sneak in.
Yeah.
I know.
Caliber's the first.
Caliber's the one.
See
We're
if
going
you
to
can-
keep count.
I'd like to see if you can use discombobulate in today's podcast.
I will, but I won't know what it means. So
I love that word. I've
Yeah.
felt that many a time, particularly under a super blood moon.
Yes, you had some
discombobulated.
Discombobulated, yeah.
or did you try the new discombobulation? It's a fragrance.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
Smell of discombobulation.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah. You wouldn't want to taste it though. It's awful.
Oh, what's your coffee?
Yeah, please do. Jacob, you recently finished a little course in PT.
I did.
Tell us
Yes,
about
personal
that.
training.
What was the plan there? Because, you're an actor. You're busy acting.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the reality of our situation, or definitely my situation,
Yeah.
unless you're extremely talented and extremely lucky.
Well, you
I
are
think, is a
extremely
combination.
talented. I've done some scenes with you and watched.
Yeah, we've had some fun.
I've watched your drunk face.
Stephen played my teacher, Mr. Lynch.
I was going to
Errol
ask
Lynch.
what the relationship was on the show, and there is a relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, there is. My role mostly sort of served the actual roles of the story, the people playing the storylines, but in the world, in the universe that they're in,
Yeah.
when things happen, because they're at a school, the teachers are around and they interact with them in various ways, and so
Sure.
Jacob's way more of a star of the show than I am by a long shot. But acting with you on set recently in a scene that I can't talk about because it's not been
Oh, yes.
was just great. I really enjoyed that, and you certainly brought your A game to that scene.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I think Mr. Lynch is always around when I have a big scene. I think you probably helped me relax quite a bit and feel
cheers.
comfortable.
That's very nice of you. But like any actor who then wraps a job
Yeah.
and says, okay, now what I do other than sleep in, you're right. You've got to survive, and we all got to pay the bills.
Well, that was actually the when I finished the actors program in 2019. Just before I finished it, I got the role of Head High, Scotty on Head High season 1, and for me, it was the first big role I've gotten, and I was like, wow, this is it. I'm not going to have to work for a while. I had all these. I was very disillusioned coming into acting. I think we all are. Like,
So been
That's-
there.
and
that's
probably
another
the
big
listeners
word.
are. in terms of-
It's actually the problem with early success.
Yeah.
It makes you think life's going to be like this all the time, and it can stop you from working hard.
Absolutely, but even whilst filming, it became apparent that this wasn't going to be a full-time job. And even with the size of the role and all these things that were exciting, it was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to work. Maybe if I want to earn decent money, I'd need to work during it. But then I'm definitely going to have to work after, which was the thing that landed me on personal training a year and a half later.
It's very aligned in a lot of ways. Helping other people stay in shape is very aligned with the shape you need to be in to be an actor.
Yeah.
For certain kinds of roles at the age you're at.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
That's what I've spent a lot of time thinking about is how do I kind of keep myself in the... I mean, it's tricky because you get tossed around a lot as whether you're going to go towards these sort of lead roles, and these lead roles are you kind of Chris Evans or Liam Hemsworth or Chris Hemsworth, where they're just ridiculously beefed up and beautiful, and it's this impossible thing to live up to. So it's sort of
there's a thing as well. You mentioned Chris Hemsworth, and he's known for his physicality and his body.
Yeah.
But there's the flip side where often those certain roles are not given to you based on your physicality and body.
Yeah.
So you start to miss certain roles because, hang on, he's just the muscle guy. He's just the action guy.
Yeah.
Which is just one of those things which we all encounter as actors as being typecast or labelled a certain way or boxed until you can prove otherwise. But, casting is about, A, do you just look the part?
Yes, yeah.
Do you fit? in this for this you're a fit for this character.
And that's the direction from a lot of casting directors who say, basically, sometimes you just are that person when they cast
you
them.
walk in the door, that's him.
You're trying to figure out some tips and tricks, but it's not applicable in so many ways. It's just going, sometimes you are that person. So the more you can learn about yourself and figure out actually where you sit instead of trying to be a Chris Hemsworth or trying to be, it's actually going to have its merit, but it's not going to have its merit 24/7. It's going to have its merit in its moments, and that's why you need to create a life for yourself.
Oh my God, this is so good. I'm so glad you said that. Create a life for yourself, because if you look at what you can do in this country, let's just assume you are confining your existence as an actor to this part of the world, because by sheer virtue of the fact that you live in a postcode, which is somewhere in this or that city in this country, and sure, we're in 3-hour flying distance to Australia, but we're more or less, we're here. Like if you're not living in the Northern Hemisphere, you are less likely, not entirely, but less likely to get Northern Hemisphere work until you're at a level where, like Sam Neill, it doesn't really matter where you live because Hollywood's on the phone anyway, right?
Absolutely.
But until such time, you're a jobbing actor, getting jobs and making yourself available down this part of the world. And if you're a Chris Hemsworth athlete type, that is one string to your bow, and there is an amount of work available to you that can be given to you, and you're available for that work. And if you are the dude scoring 7 out of 10 auditions on that type of work, that's a string to your bow. It's an income stream that financially represents one way of staying afloat as you create your life. And then other people are going to say, well, I don't necessarily hit 7 out of 10 of those type of auditions. It's not enough to sustain me for annual salary that I can live off. But sure, the work, when I get it, it's good. You know, it's $5,000 here or a couple of grand there or something. But is $5 or a couple of grand or $10,000 enough per year? Shit, no. So you gotta, your living costs for an entire period of time, annualized over 12 months, means that if that's the rate and your hit rate that you're getting work, you've got to do other things. And I really love the fact that you're doing something that's healthy, because you're gonna, if you don't mind me putting on my old man hat, talking to you like I'm 20 years older than you. Well, I am.
Listen here, son. Back in my day,
you're more than likely going to meet a lot of people, which brings through incredible insight in your world as an actor. Yeah.
Oh, always. That's the best thing about being on set. But on a show like Head Hires, where you've got so many of these older actors coming in and kind of placing their wisdom in a range of ways and a range of lives that they've lived.
Yeah.
You know.
But just getting back to what you said, Steve, the reality is that most actors in New Zealand can't make a living from it. That's the bottom line.
Let's just tell the truth.
I can't survive. Okay, you might, I've done a lot of commercial acting, and if you get a big payday, you can live for 6 months, 8 months, a year, depending on that payday. But there's huge feast or famine,
Yeah.
How do you maintain, how do you sustain that? And there's a certain level in New Zealand, unless you're going overseas where there's a different playing field, you're only going to get the work that's provided in this pool.
In this subset, this category,
unless
with
you can
this ring
find
fence on it.
a path, a connection where you go, and the traditional connection or route was always LA. Like, I'm going to go to...
Yeah.
How many actors do we know that spent 3 months doing Meisner or whatever scene group acting class in LA, hustling, getting nowhere?
Yeah.
Because... unless you're lucky, you get discovered and you are a good networker, you don't know. I always say you can't join the dots ahead of time. But we all know people, we all know, I think that was Steve Jobs that said that.
You can't join the dots ahead of time.
Yeah.
True.
But someone like a Russell Crowe or, some of the actors that we grew up with or know had their own path that they followed. They either knew someone in the industry, got a foot in the door, or they hustled for 5 years in LA and finally... they got on a hit show, established themselves. Oh, we know you, and doors start opening. So, it's such a fascinating industry.
I really like that you can't join the dots ahead of time. Or you can't walk through the door before you know where the door is.
You don't know what the next missing puzzle is. Like, there are people that you think they're going to make it. They got talent and then they get sidetracked. They get a drug addiction. They have problems in their life and challenges, and they go, I thought, And then there's someone else who just works hard, didn't quite have the talent, but just kept persisting and kept a focus and had a dream and had a vision, and they really, really wanted it, and they slowly built themselves from nothing. So. But I think the allure is always there. The Hollywood dream, right? There's always that.
Even Harrison Ford, if I'm not mistaken, before he got Han Solo,
was a carpenter, wasn't he?
Carpenter, painting sets, just doing all amazing.
No, that's a side hustle.
Yeah, that's a side hustle.
In New Zealand, that's a very good side hustle.
It's not a bad one in this property market.
I wish I knew that at 18.
Honestly, same. Me too. I did a lot of study, and I don't regret it. It's the life path that brings me to where I am today. But if I was purely interested in just making money, I probably wouldn't have gone to uni. I probably would have become a plumber or something, so that I could just instantly start the path of owning my own business, so that I could be free, if I still wanted to be an actor, to then just stop, put down my plumbing widgets, and go and do an audition.
Time off on your time.
I think you and I discussed this on set, and if not, I've been talking about this a lot generally. And a shout out to Unicorns and Hand Grenades with Jackson Kim, because I was talking about this recently on their podcast.
I listened to that ahead of time.
I sent you a copy, didn't I? Yeah. Don't tell anyone.
Sorry, I wasn't supposed to hear that.
But therefore, I don't know if it's out or not when this is published, because they had a couple in the bank for their show.
Yeah.
But I talked about the importance of finding something that sustained you whilst you did the thing that you love to do. Yeah. Because I'll throw this at you for the first time, but what do you think of this? And chime in, Rob, in case I don't articulate well what I said the other day to them, because you remember it or whatever stuck out for you. But what if we took away the need to earn money from the thing that we loved, and it was just a thing we did, and you had some process of surviving financially that freed you, because that's what money should do. It should free you up to do the things that you love. But what we often do, and it's a program we all buy into, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but we equate success with a career or with a thing that we love to do by how well we are paid, or whether we're paid enough to survive from it. And then literally the definition of what is a professional is that it becomes a thing I do for money.
Yes,
It is a profession. It is done professionally because I'm paid for it. Well, what if you free yourself up from that need to have to be paid for it, and you still do it, and you still do it to the best of your ability, to the level that it could have worldwide acclaim and success, but you got on without being tied to the requirement for it to pay your bills, to pay your rent from week to week.
Yeah, I mean, just taking it from an actor's perspective, even money, as for so many actors, means that you select which shows you do, and you take someone like Robert Pattinson. So even if purely the form of character building and character performance is your passion to that extent, he becomes extremely selective on what he wants to do, and does some amazing work in that.
Matthew McConaughey went through the same thing. He had a drought.
He was doing a lot of rom-coms, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he wanted to switch it up. It was no longer about the money. He had to change his whole thing.
Did you read his book?
Yeah, I read his book.
Yeah.
And so, but it's good if you're in a position to do that, because that's getting into for you and me.
Financially, he was in a position.
Exactly.
Whereas when someone says, "Do you want to do an ad for a supermarket?" I don't think to myself, "Oh my God, this is my
dream.
My dreams come true. This is my
dream role.
This is my moment in the sun." No, I just go, I suppose it's worth it, but it'll help me survive the next month.
Yeah. It'll get me through. And with all due respect, it's a very quick way of getting you through a month as well. So it's something that you can feel a lot of gratitude
it's
for.
part of what you do.
Because at the end of the day, we do need money to get us through.
Yeah.
But you touch on something. It's that inner artist versus survival, or is existentialism, right?
Yeah.
So existentialism?
Is what did I say?
Existentialism.
Yeah, well, I just make up words.
That's a new one. I like that.
Hey, Shakespeare, you do you, buddy.
Yeah. So, you have these actors that I only do theatre, or I only do these parts that serve me as an artist, opposed to, oh no, I think I'm going to do that 5-deal picture with whatever, and I don't care if it's whatever.
I mean, it's got to be enticing for the individual, whatever you do.
And I think it's wrong. I think you should choose what you do based on each individual merit, but on what speaks to you and what serves you.
Yeah.
Don't judge someone and go, well, who cares if that... You haven't sold out. Why have you sold out? We have this thing about people selling out. I no longer listen to that band, man, because they're advertising for, I don't know, something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but that's how the world of commerce works.
Yeah.
That's how business works. That's how an F1 team can't survive with all the sponsorship and advertising and it's just you got to, I think, come at it from a different perspective.
Well, let's just face that reality. We live in a dualistic, a polarity existence, right? We don't have good without bad. We live in a physical body, and yet we chase the virtues of spirituality. Yet we are in a meat suit, and we have to deal with the realities of what it means to be in a physical incarnation.
Yeah.
You've got things that are really high value projects that you could do in your life but can't be done effectively on the highest level, exposing the most good without money. And so you've got to deal with the commercial reality of if you want to do something that is exposed to just a few people and they appreciate it, great. But if you want to expose your art, your work, your project, your web series to the world, it's going to need money. And you're going to deal with that commercial reality and cope with the fact that money is not evil. Money is a means to an end. It is a representation of energy. And I think this is a really nice segue to your web series, which congratulations to you. You've just got funding for.
We got funding.
Wow, great.
Just about a month ago now. So we've been in the process of trying to figure out what it all means and how we actually go about creating the show, really.
Yeah. Can we just back up a bit?
Yeah.
The conception of this web series.
Yes.
Where did that come from? What
So-
was the inspiration?
And what's its title?
It's called Here If You Need.
And how can people see it when it's made?
When it's made, it will be on the RNZ's YouTube channel as its first platform.
RNZ?
Yep.
Radio New Zealand?
Radio New Zealand. So they're our platform.
So see, that blows my mind. They're radio, but they have a video component now.
This is
interesting.
RNZ are breaking boundaries in so many ways of what they have represented in the past and how they're actually moving forward. And kudos to them.
Totally.
They're an organisation that's really working for themselves, and you see. I mean, they were so on board with our project.
Wow.
And we've got their backing. And
They're a government
treat.
sort of subsector
Yes,
of our society, Radio New Zealand, government funded, and they are trying to serve the needs of community.
Yes.
And your project, please take it from here. It serves the needs of community. How?
It has themes of things that every single New Zealander has been affected by in terms of the degrees of separation. It's about grief and suicide.
Well, there you go. And that's it in a nutshell, isn't it?
Awesome.
That's the big one.
Yes, yeah. That's where it ties in. But I wouldn't even
There's
say
a real
it's
problem with that in New Zealand. And I love the
absolutely.
fact that you're doing something that addresses and talks to those issues.
Yes, and it's about the people that are left behind, more than talking about how it happens or how it comes to that. It's more about what does it look like for a group of people trying to recover from it. And it's a black comedy.
Cool.
It's
so good.
It started probably about 5 years ago when I was in uni in Wellington, and we had a flat of characters that I just found very intriguing and all on their own journeys at the
a
stage.
flat rave up. Is it still a rave up or a party?
We did have those as well.
5 years ago wasn't the 90s, man.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Back in the 70s, we were hell tripping out. No. And they were just such interesting characters going through their own form of like growth and becoming
inner demons problems,
hugely.
Yes, yeah.
How do you kind of become the person you want to be and all facing unique challenges? Like one of the guys had an injury. He was recovering from an Achilles heel injury, and so he tore that, and it lasted a couple of years trying to recover from that. And then other people going through different sorts of things. And it was very interesting watching this group of people. It was kind of like, what if we put this group of people in an environment like social netball?
Netball?
Yes, yeah. And we followed the interactions of the team. So this is that kind of
So it's actually a social netball team?
Yes. So
derived from the characters derived from who you flattered
that
with
was
5 years
the
ago.
original characters.
And
then during TAP in 2019, the Actors Program, which I did in 2019, we had a Writing for Screen workshop with Kate McDermott. She came in.
Kate McDermott
wrote Head High.
Wrote Head High.
Yeah, I'm just going to say,
Nigel and some other, I was in a show of his called Nigel Theatre Show. One of the funniest shows I've ever had the privilege of being in.
No way.
Yeah, it's so grateful to her for writing that. And she wrote it right out of the gate when she was quite young.
So and there was a theatre show.
Yeah, called It's hilarious.
No way.
I don't want to make this about me.
Yeah.
But,
I have no
idea.
Steve.
Yeah.
So when was that?
I don't know when she first wrote it, but it was the 90s, I think. Yeah, it's funny. Yeah.
Should bring it back.
Yeah, well, we did.
Another season.
Did.
Did you?
Just a couple of years ago. Yeah.
No way.
Sapphire Theatre brought it back. Blair Strang directed it, and we had a wonderful cast of actors. You saw it,
This
didn't
was
you?
the
Yeah, sorry, I loved it. It was
at the Pump House.
so funny. Yeah.
This was with Connor Johnston. Was that the one?
No, that was Morning Star.
That was Morning Star. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That was written by
That was Albert Bells.
Albert Bells, yeah. But anyway,
Back to the actors program and then the development of the series.
Yeah, so during that workshop, we were put into groups, and we sat down with these groups, and our task was to write a show and pitch a
great.
show at the end of the week. So we had a full week to do this, and what was big for me, and I think big for a lot of our group, was how do you make a show that's actually tangibly makeable? And I kind of fell on this idea of social network. Because I mean, our imagination runs wild in terms of let's do an apocalyptic dystopia.
Yeah.
And if it's your first show,
how many male characters in this?
it's probably split 50-50. So I think the lead, there's 6 characters. There's
So 3 of each.
2 guys, 4 girls, actually.
2 guys. I still find men in netball sort of a jarring concept for my oldie worldy programming. I'm like, isn't that a girls' sport? Much like seeing male cheerleaders. I sort of go, what? But
social netball
more
is
and more.
huge.
And these dudes and these ladies are fit. And social netball, holy moly.
It's Cruz Tangara is the NZ men's netball captain.
Yeah.
He's on board. He's an actor as well, and he's on board with the project.
Really?
So he's going to play one of the characters in the other team. And
so good.
He's a fantastic human and really repping that the beauty of netball and the diversity that's bringing and how social netball especially is just growing so much.
Right.
I've got so many friends who are absolutely obsessed with it. And
that's
every
really
week,
cool.
so.
It's so retarded, that a ball sport could be viewed as a sort of a male or a female domain. Isn't that just nuts?
Yeah, I know. And as kids, you wouldn't even think about it. You just pick up a ball and start
And you
playing.
just start, well, what are the rules?
yeah.
This is it, and you just go for it. Yeah.
And then before you know it, you separate into boys' sports and girls' sports.
Exactly.
And
It's school that starts with this bastardization
Oh,
of
don't get me
categorizing.
started with this.
Well, like on your episode with Unicorns and Hand Grenades, episode 4, you're talking about how people are streamed into different.
Your programming
advanced or behind.
your programming starts from the moment you're born into this reality.
Absolutely.
But obviously, school is your your parents first, or your caregivers, or whoever. But obviously, school is a set structure where you are programmed what you are supposed to think.
Yes.
And you're the version of events, history, whatever.
But also as they classify how far along you are in your reading age, and then it becomes should you be in the advanced, medium, or retard
You get
class?
graded.
Class for
You
math.
get graded,
And of course, what's wrong with that is if you separate people out like that, you never have the inspiration from someone who's smarter than you, and smarter people never have to deal with the patience of people who are learning at a different rate.
Yeah.
And we should all be completely rounded human beings. I'm sorry, I digress. Please
No,
It
absolutely.
brings up
No, carry on with the concept.
Oh, there's so much to talk about, isn't there?
It really is.
So we separated into this group, and then we sort of did the same thing that I had the idea of in my flat 5 years ago in Wellington, where we decided to build our own characters based on the people on the table. Fictionally, though, a bit more. I think I was quite based in reality 5 years ago because I was fascinated with my flatmates. But this time it was very much these fictional characters that came to life based on the traits and characteristics of these people.
Right.
And then from there we started interweaving the relationships, and then I can't remember which stage it came along, but then we're like, okay, what about someone who's died? We got to have a reason for why we're here. It's not just a social netball team, it's something. And it started off as grief, team coming together to, figure out their relationships to this person who's died, figure out what it means for them to still be here. And that over 2020 during COVID, when I think COVID was a blessing for the series because it provided the platform for us to sit down and actually write it, create it.
So many good ideas never get the time of day.
Exactly. I mean, I was thinking, I'm big on really wanting to go traveling, and this, if the borders were open, my agitation for traveling would have overcome or succeeded my determination to make this show.
Yeah.
So it's an absolute blessing to be in one place and have to make a show, really. It's really
Yeah.
cool.
Speaks to the value of discipline on good ideas, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. And the commitment it takes to get this over the line, because so many times during this process, it's an absolute, it's a privilege to work with the people that have come on board, because every single time I talk to a new person who responded with the, who enjoyed the idea, who it gave them a bit of energy in life, were able to push me, motivate me, and towards actually getting across the line and making this funding. So it's a real collaborative effort.
Yeah, well done to you on that. Well done.
Did the people involved in this series eventuate from the Actors Program, or did you pull in friends, acquaintances?
Yeah. So it changed quite a bit. So based on availability, a lot of the time based on what we needed. So the 6 people who were the ones who were involved in the funding in the end of it. But Monica, who was also on Head High, Sade,
Okay.
she and I were the ones who were in TAP, who ended up writing and organising the proof of concept, the pilot.
Wow.
Along with a friend of ours, Hannah Brown, who came on board, who's just finished her master's in screenwriting. So she was just a fantastic person to have a bit more experience in that area.
Yeah.
She was brilliant. She was absolutely brilliant. And then from there, Monica became really, really busy with stuff. So, and I was less busy and more bored. And so it was a matter of going, right, who can bring in the next lease of energy and life to the show. And I'm so big on collaborating, because I don't have the willpower myself to get anything across the line. But when you're in a group of people, I honestly think 3 is the magic number, but I'm all for more than 3 as well.
Sure.
When you're a group of people who have a common goal and you can bounce off each other, it's just, I personally think anything I've come up with is 3 times as good when there's extra people involved.
Well, you're a creative being, but there's no harm in going into co-creations.
Well, and
Right?
Well, because everything's a co-creative process, and you couldn't do this by yourself.
Yeah.
No venture, how big or small, can happen with just one person. Yeah.
Yeah, in an absence of other influences. You're not an island.
No,
man is an island.
And I mean, is it Julia Cameron who says that creative energy is God energy? And
really?
It flows through you. It's not yours to create. It's not yours to
the artist's way.
The artist's way. Yeah. Julia
totally.
Cameron. Yeah.
That's the 3rd time this week someone's mentioned The Artist's Way to me.
Is that right?
I think I might start reading that book.
Yes, it's
Like a lot of books I picked up in the 90s with good intention. It stayed on my shelf and never got read. So I don't have far to go to get it.
quite hard to get a copy, so you're in a very good position.
Is it
if you've
really?
got one. Yeah.
I've got one for sale. It's just $100 if you want it. I'm kidding. No, I might actually use my
And that
copy.
goes out to the listeners as well. In
So,
fact, I might auction it.
I was going to say, The Artist's Way, one of the biggest things I got from that was the morning pages,
Yes.
which is waking up in the morning and journaling your stream of consciousness. And you had to do a minimum of, I think, 3 pages.
a minimum.
That was a lot.
And there was a process to it. So it wasn't about creating a body of work. It would literally be like, I just woke up, I feel like shit. What am I having for... Just getting that out. And it was a process. It helped me through. And it's free, and you don't need any money or just need time.
And it sounds freeing too.
It is freeing.
Frees up your consciousness for what you're trying to do.
It empties your mind, as Matthew McConaughey says. Like you empty your mind when he goes out into nature and gets in his RV and goes, all right. It's true. You need to empty the mind to get to the deeper levels of your being, and this voice can arise.
Yes.
It's creating space, basically. Yeah.
Have you done it? You've done The Artist's Way?
That was what landed me on pushing ahead with the series.
Really?
Because during COVID, I was reading The Artist's Way, and I was very trying to figure out what I wanted to do, because I was, in fact, at that stage I was looking at a personal training course, and I was trying to figure out where I put my energy. And doing the morning pages was a flow of consciousness to, as you said, empty out the consciousness and just land on a really, really great clarity around what I wanted to pursue. And it was write this series, make the show, make a pilot. And that's what I ended up doing, and it's led me to this moment. So I'm the biggest advocate for that. It's phenomenal.
And the thing is, what I've learned with inspiration, it's a very small, it's a still, often quiet voice. It's a nudge. It's not loud. Some people might get a loud boom, epiphany, like that. You get a warning sign. But normally, as you say, it's just this urge, this something.
Or even
quiet
something
voice.
not right.
It's a quiet voice.
It's something. It's a negative. It's something's not quite right with what you're doing, and you've got to go ahead and try and figure it out. Yeah, what it is that would be right,
Yeah, we're seduced by consciousness, just thoughts, the thought process in creating these stories. And
I think we're also seduced by distraction.
Yeah, the mind wants to be distracted.
Full credit to you to pushing out against that, especially at your age, where there's so many wonderful distractions to be had.
At your age, I was at Les Mills partying and chasing girls and training and doing all-nighters. So I'll say it as it is. Yeah, just distracted. Yeah, living off testosterone and ego.
Now you got my mind running. So,
Jacob, I want to hear more about the show and where the stories are set up without any spoilers.
Yeah, of course.
Where it's heading. I want to hear how. Can we talk about the funding?
Yes.
Is that open? Is that a matter of public record?
Well, it's on NZ On Air's
website,
newsletters, and Instagram.
Right. So because when someone gets funding, it is published, isn't it?
Yes.
Can you say how much you receive for your project?
Yeah, I don't see why not. It's 248,000.
So how is that utilised, and how do you survive? Do you take a portion of that for your income for the year, based on the fact that it's to create the project, or do you take drawings from that? Because you've got to survive. You've got to be able to sit down and make the show, and you need to be able to have the time to do that and pay your bills whilst you do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do is we take it all out and then put it in a bank account overseas and move to Chile and live out the rest of our days in peace.
Chile,
a little account in the Caymans. Yeah, Chile, isn't it? We'll go further in Chile.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's why that country came to mind.
When I jump the country, that's where I go.
Yeah.
But you raise a valid point, because this is your time and energy, your expertise.
Yeah.
And you need to sustain a living whilst putting in that time.
Well,
if you've got to create it, you've got to pay your bills whilst you're creating it.
But it doesn't actually end up like that, as far as I know so far. Yeah. So, I mean, this is still very early days. We're trying to work out what a budget means, but it's not a lot of money that goes very far for this sort of project.
No, I was going to say, it seems like a lot, but...
not at all.
Yeah, the first time you hear that money, if you don't understand the industry, it sounds like an incredible amount of money. But breaking it down into what we want to do, every single dollar is invested to people who are capable of coming on and making that thing happen.
Yeah.
And so, and a lot of that time, at least from where we're sitting, it means there's got to be sacrifices. And I think this is how we even segued into talking about a web series, or getting to the stage of you making this. A web series it's about sacrifice. Like, it's not always going to be free ride or enjoying the whole period, but it's about what do you want out of this experience. So we could cut other areas of the production and afford the people who've been in it at the start and paying them a lot more.
Yeah.
But the thing is, that's not going to create the best project. And creating a life out of this industry requires sacrifice and requires going, right, let's invest everything into this show. We'll survive. We'll make sure that, we'll get paid for the jobs that we'll have functionally on the show.
Yeah.
But it's just about sustaining ourselves through it so that we can get to the end product and go, hey, look what we did, and we can do it again.
Yeah. So,
great.
How many people is this show going? There's the loudest cheer scrape I've ever heard. How many people is this show going to employ?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean,
or maybe a better way of saying it, given when I hear you say words like sacrifice, I get the distinct feeling you're going to underpay yourself, because of the way I see people who they put everything, every dollar and cent they have into making this the best they can, often at the expense of their own survival. And it's the wonderful thing about a lot of artists is they could care less. As long as they're not kicked out of their flat. They're like, whatever, man, Jesus, I'm going to need this money for a crane operator. I'm going to need this money for a Steadicam guy. This one's going for the drone.
It's absolutely it. I mean, let's face it, we didn't get to this point in our lives by making good decisions around money.
That's right, because you chose to be an actor.
Exactly.
Don't worry, you can always fall back on PTing.
So yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. But the people we want to bring on board, they're not in that position. We want the best people for the best job.
Yeah.
And so it's making sure that everyone gets their worth. Everyone who has families to pay, all those things are getting supported to this project.
So what's your total number of people who are going to be involved in the project?
I probably couldn't work it out on top of my head. It's probably around 30. 35 people, and then you've got days with extras and things like that. But
so I think to anyone listening who goes, well, that's my taxpayer money there, and they got 200 and how much?
Yeah, 200, exactly. 250.
200, $250,000.
Yeah.
But instantly it's divided over 30-something people.
Exactly.
You're not
paying back.
And these are people who are going to be paid here and there, day rates and stuff, and you're going to eke it out in every way to create. How many episodes?
6 episodes of 10 minutes.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
At least.
At least. No, I'd
I'm
imagine.
hoping for it to be a bit longer. But
well, I'm sure it could actually more easily be longer because, when you're cutting it together, the length of something is really dependent on what's left on the editing floor, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you restricted to 10-minute episodes?
As far as I know, we're still trying to figure this out, but not necessarily, I'll say, with a pinch of salt, a big pinch of salt. Because when we're looking at the storylines, they're absolutely jam-packed with content. And
that might be a problem.
Every time we're doing anything, it just keeps expanding. So it's a matter of how much footage can we shoot.
Christ, that's
and then go from there.
That's such
yeah. So it's just a matter of budgeting, and that is on the responsibility of us, but also someone else who's much more experienced who we bring on board to tell us what we can and cannot do.
Are we talking like about a production accountant or something?
No,
a coordinator.
More just like a line producer who.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Exactly.
So more about the story then. If you can take us through this.
Yeah.
This 3 male, 3 female characters setup and what attracted the funding body to go, oh, that's something we need to produce.
Yeah. It's about, we made a little proof of concept and that had really, really positive feedback.
Yeah.
It managed to attract an executive producer in the name of Nigel McCullough, who is with the Download concept.
I've heard of the Download.
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah, Download. Yeah,
they produce a lot of things.
He's a great guy, and he responded to it, and a lot of people have.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, when we were developing the story, it was as much about the team as it was the center or the world that we wanted to create inside this social netball center. It's such and when you bring in contrasting themes like suicide and social netball, the where you sit is this absurdity in the world, and that we really wanted that to expand into the entire center. So the manager became a really big character in terms of the host of this sort of surreal, silly world, and what became of that was also the opposing team ended up dressing in full medieval garb. And, and they're the nemesis team. Yeah. So So and I mean we're still having discussions around this of and I'd love what you guys think about. It's like, where do you draw the line on explanation? Where do you draw the line on needing to explain why you've made certain choice, or
why they're dressed in full medieval? I don't think you need to.
No. Does the audience can sit there going like, wow, that's strange, why have they done that, and never get an answer.
You could go 5 episodes with no answer, and then someone gives a reference as to, well, they always do that because Bob's into D&D.
Yeah.
And that's it. And because when you see it, I think I'm just casting my opinion over the concept of what you said, and obviously, I don't mean to butt into it, but
no, please.
It's like there's so many things that if that is played off as just part of the world with no real explanation, and yet the performances are great, and the purpose that they serve to be the antagonist or to be the opposing team or to further the storyline doesn't explain why they're dressed in that way, it's okay, because then we just start to accept that as, well, that's how they're dressed when we see that team. We start to make up in our mind reasons for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's okay. That's part of the story too.
No, I'm thinking Donnie Darko, those sorts of movies. I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal was talking about on his Instagram about people still coming up to him asking, what was that about? And he going,
because I don't know.
That's the sort of the artist's free license as well. To be able to do things like that. But I'm really
I love payoffs though. I love a setup that eventually has a payoff or a callback. So you just don't have to pay it off straight away.
You don't have to, yeah.
Sorry, mate.
I was going to say, so it's under the, it's a black comedy, but you're dealing with some pretty serious themes. Is that the kind of the main drive? Is to get, I suppose, to get people talking more about mental health and about grief and about loss and about suicide and those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
and how we deal with that, and as humans, how we can, we process, but we also we share that as a human species. We all go through some form of loss and grief in our lifetime. We will.
Well,
inevitably.
Also, let's not forget, Rob, you're not allowed to report on suicide in New Zealand. If someone has had death by suicide, the media has quite a significant restriction on saying how someone died by suicide.
Yeah, it's always alluded to, but it's never said.
You can talk around it. You can say the word, but as for reporting on events within New Zealand, the media has certain restrictions that mean we can't just talk openly about it like you might want to.
Well, what they do is they have all these references underneath. Do you have depression? Call Healthline.
If this story has affected you, call 0800.
Yes,
So
which I
they
think has been proven to be more triggering. They talk about trigger warnings on
trigger
top
warnings
of
being the trigger.
Being the trigger, yeah.
No
I think
shit.
it definitely allows.
Sort of makes sense, actually.
But I mean, what we hope to do is less about saying we know the answer. There's no answer to any of this. But just sort of like anything, prompting any form of new perspective, prompting any form of thought that, if we can trigger in one person's mind in the audience a thought they didn't have before surrounding the scenarios that we have fictionally created, I'd be happy with that.
That's nice.
It's not a one thing solves the problem scenario at all, and we're not attempting to solve the problem. It's a piece of art that's speculating on the absurdity of the situation, because this whole existence is ridiculous. And
welcome to Reality Hub.
This whole existence is ridiculous.
It is. Well, it is. The late great Alan Watts. I don't know if you heard of him. Philosopher. Yeah, he's very well known. He used to say about human existence is weird. Just summed it up as it is. It's weird, man.
Yeah,
it is when you really think about it.
But aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky to be here?
Yeah,
to be having the weird experience because of all the universal experiences that are really quite simple and straightforward. Well, we must have all, as a soul group, had enough of that to come and have a few weird ones.
Yeah.
And we're all just trying to find rules for things.
And meaning.
And meaning, yeah, for sure.
And so,
That's cool. I love that there is no kind of solution in mind of when people see this show, this will solve the mental health problems of da-da-da. It's almost like the idea of we can all get together and pray the gay away, because that's a concept and an idea of a fundamental of this is how life is and this is how you resolve something that is a problem. And if you don't have this idea of, well, this is how we resolve the show, the people will watch this and now they'll deal with their mental health way better. That's just not realistic. Because I hope that this piece of art as a series stands the test of time, because what happens over time is that our paradigm and our thought structure around topics change. But if something is universally timeless, then you can see people interacting with each other without a moral fabric of, and here's the answer, Johnny now feels better. Our paradigm is going to change, and that wouldn't make sense in 10 years time and 20 years time. So hopefully what you're producing will be, it reminds me of Friends. Despite the fact that they're all white, Caucasian, 20-somethings, and there was no diversity at that time, the interaction they had is a kind of show that is timeless, because we just love those characters, and you're taken through tears and laughter and life experiences through that comedy. And I hope what you're producing, because of the spirit of the energy of what you bring to these things with such insight and storytelling, I'm sure will last the span of time.
Thank you. Gosh, that's a. I just hope people laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if they cry as well, great.
Yeah.
It's just. I mean, it's as much God energy as Julia Cameron talks about. Is we can't decide what we chose to make, but we just fell in love with this concept, and that's what it's become. And every time it evolves even more by new people coming onto it, it's just creating this thing that we want to hold and we're so passionate about. And it's really not up to us what the message is or what the thing is. It was, I say this with conviction, is it wasn't up to me to choose that it becomes about suicide in the people trying to come together to resolve or to see how they feel after something like this happens, as it just fit into place. And maybe that's very naive to think that, but that's just, it all just did kind of fit into place. And maybe it is because of the relevance in New Zealand. I think very much.
Well, when you say you do something that's about suicide, you suddenly have this dark idea of razor blades and hot baths. You know, you know what I mean?
That's a reference to
all sorts of things, I suppose.
Snowpiercer.
Oh, yeah, Snowpiercer. Yeah, I love that show. But, you know, when you go, this show deals with the topic, does that blow your mind as well, Jacob, a little bit?
I'm just trying to remember the scene. In the movie or the
sorry,
series?
the Netflix series. Yeah.
First season? Second season?
Second.
Haven't seen it.
Second.
Sorry.
Wilfred.
It pops up a couple of
Yeah.
times, and
Okay.
it's kind of.
I mean, the
dark,
show in
but-
itself has that trigger warning at the beginning, contains themes of suicide. But my point is, when you say a show has something to do is around suicide, you get this instant sense of, you know, people popping pills and offing themselves, right? But that's not the case, right? To kick off with, it sounds humorous. It's set around a social netball team.
Yes, yeah.
And these people, and just correct me where I'm wrong, but this is the vibe I'm getting, are dealing with all sorts of life issues.
That's exactly it. That's
and
exactly
suicide
it.
is not off the table.
No.
Like so many other shows where we just can't talk about that.
No, yeah. And it's very much, it's the people trying to respond to this happening. It doesn't cover how he got to that stage. I mean, maybe it will explore that in some way in the future, but it is these people who are trying to figure out what their lives mean now.
Now
and
that
what
someone
that meant.
else has, so again, to correct my thinking, these people aren't dealing with suicidal thoughts. They're dealing with the aftermath of someone else that's died.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a nice reminder. Yes.
Dealing with, and let's face it, as the human condition, we're faced with, you know, relationship breakups. We're faced with health issues. We're always faced with these challenges, but they all stem from a psychological. I was going to say perspective, but yeah, everything is
A base. Psychological base.
Yeah. I mean, it's how you deal with though, and that's why it's such a grey area, because mental health is like, how do you treat that? How do you fix that? Everyone's psychological makeup is different.
Exactly.
Some people go and meditate, some people take drugs, some people distract. You know, everyone has their own coping mechanisms, and I think that's what you're exploring when you've got people that are just trying to cope and do the best they can.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I guess, and we're all in this together.
Well, yeah.
Trying to figure this out.
And sometimes it's about holding space and just talking about these things, and you go away feeling a little lighter.
Yeah.
You think, okay, you haven't fixed my problem, I haven't fixed yours, but I feel a little lighter because we had the conversation. Yeah.
Albert, who we mentioned earlier, wrote on a Facebook post recently that he went into a sauna and he wasn't feeling so good because he's got a little bit of joint issues that he's going through at the moment. And someone asked, "Hey man, what's with the crutch?" Because he walked in with a crutch and he needed it. And then he said, "Oh yeah, this is the problem, XYZ." And he said, "Next thing you know, cue 800 plus home remedies for people telling me how to cure the problem." and then he said, "I made a quick exit." And it's so funny because we all seem to go, "Oh, well, I know the answer to that, mate. No, see, what you need to do, it's suicidal feeling, you just need to listen to some good music. That's all. Well, you're taking your drug. Well, you know there's a herb that will probably solve that. We've all got the effing answers." And the person dealing with it is just like, "Oh, piss off. You don't know how I feel." And I think people assume that that, either a problem is minimized or not that bad, or they don't know really what you're going through. It's that old saying of walk a mile in my shoes and actually know how I feel. But people don't. They make an assumption that you would feel a certain way based on the framework they have in their life.
Yes, and
it always annoys me when someone has never ever been sick, because they often don't have the empathy to understand someone who's suffering.
Oh God, that's got me spiraling a bit.
I mean, I'm happy for someone who's physically well.
Sorry. Yeah, but
if you've never ever been sick, someone who's not doing too good, you judge them and go, you probably just had too much of a late night. He's hungover.
Well, you reflect your own experiences on that and put your own narratives on top of what it could mean. But of course, it's different in whatever ways.
And I think it's what's the word? Presumptuous, and also, who are you to say that you know what's right for someone? I can understand that you have good intentions to help someone.
I think that's the thing. It comes from a good place.
Like you our innate natural thing to do is we want to help, right? We want to fix something. Particularly the male energy, I think, is, hey, we'll just fix that.
We'll solve that.
We'll solve that. We're problem solvers. But it's not that easy. And often the people that have got the problem have had that problem maybe for years, maybe their whole life, and they've tried every remedy under the sun. They've been battling this. So you coming along and saying, hey, I've got the answers, like, well, I've actually explored that. You don't know the work I've put in. You don't know the behind-the-scenes stuff. And because I've been guilty of that myself. And it's a form of ignorance, and it's I can't think of the right word when you know it all, or you have this.
I can't think of the word for that either. But it's a kind of an assumption, isn't it? Yeah.
So. Yeah, it's a tricky one.
My friend's dad said, my friend told me that his dad said this to him. It was like, when someone's going through something, keep your thoughts close to your chest, keep them in your head, even if they're very close to you, because they're not ready to hear it until they ask. And I think it's so many times we go, I need to tell you what I'm thinking because I might be right, might be wrong. And even if if you're coming from the right intentions, even if you are right about that person's not going to be able to hear that.
Sure.
Until they're ready to. Yeah. Until on their own journey they're ready to go through that.
Yeah.
And it's stuck with me for quite a while now.
Yeah,
you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can see someone in need of healing, but you can't make them fix themselves.
No.
Because they have to fix themselves, which even is true insofar as they may not be a surgeon who can do the surgery on a tumor that needs removal. When I say fix themselves, they have to begin that process of seeking the help they need. And that in itself is the first step in fixing yourself, healing yourself, going on that journey. It's saying I'm ready for this, and I'm going to head in the direction to look for answers. And then mountains will move for them, which would have hitherto been thought impossible. It's like the universe conspires to move mountains for people when they're ready to take the steps to climb over them.
It goes back to that thing as actors we don't have is just no control. You just got to let things happen. That's
go
with
true.
it.
So where to now? Because you must be in the thick of production for this now, in terms of organising. And by the way, just again, congratulations on dealing with the funding system and the applications and the forms. I know that in itself is a product of hours and hours of work and filling out forms for the Creative New Zealand or the whatever funding body.
Collaboration. Collaboration, absolutely. Lockie, who I'm sure you meet at some point, you guys will really get along. Me and him, I feel like we've got a really good balance because he's much better at formality. Right. I'm the type who goes into a meeting kind of just joking around and ends up saying the wrong thing. And he's very good at saying the right things and being very gracious. And so we would kind of imbalance him writing, stringing together most of the emails we need to send to important people to get feedback and create the perfect application that we wanted to send off. And so collaboration is the only thing that's gotten me anywhere, really.
Yeah, that's really cool.
It's awesome.
So You're a PT, an actor. You can be found at Gale Cowan Management or GCM.co.nz, GCM, and you're doing some voice acting now, you were telling me.
Yes, I've got my first voice.
Your first voiceover coming.
Yeah, had my first voice audition, and
it's great.
yeah, it's an Australian. I just saw it and I was like, I love doing an Aussie accent. So
Yeah.
I think because I grew up overseas, it kind of a lot of the time people are like, "Are you Australian?" Or,
Yeah, where did you grow up?
Yeah, can
I
you
grew
do
up-
Australian for us, mate?
"Oh, I could give it a go." So I grew up in Hong Kong.
Ah,
Yeah, so
interesting.
just
Yeah.
south of Brisbane. No, a lot of people think it's in Japan, but
Hong Kong?
yeah,
Ah.
it's what I got a lot in
Do you
New
mean
Zealand.
Hong Kong City in Japan?
Yes. It's Southeast Asia. It's part of China.
See, you're an
more and
international-
more part of China now.
Oh, it is more,
sadly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Very
When
sadly.
they gave that lease up, it absorbed back into the empire, didn't it?
Yes.
I still have the 1999, I believe, dance CD for the Great Handover when it went back to.
Really?
Yeah, it's got some great tracks, dance, trance music. Yeah, but I just
I'm not sure what surprises me more. The
Yeah,
fact
I'm
that
just-
you've got a dance CD or the
Yeah.
fact that...
I've got it. The handover. Remember, it was the handover.
Oh, such good times.
Yeah.
From that year, from 97. 97
Well, maybe it was
the year.
97.
Well, that was the year the handover happened.
Yeah,
but
well,
unless it was a couple of years after
probably
they decided to
97
celebrate
actually.
it.
Yeah.
They were like, oh,
They were still partying.
might as well
2 years
enjoy
later.
this.
They were still hitting the floor.
The Australian accent's a funny one, because as a Kiwi, it's so similar to our accent that at times it's hard to differentiate from it. There are things that are similar, at least, and then there are things that are really different. And then you've got a kind of Australian twang and sound that is sort of typical, but then isn't necessarily as a modern Australian would speak it.
No.
You know, and that can catch you up.
We go towards stereotypes before we
Yeah.
learn. I mean, what's that? What's the archive idea? International Archives of International Dialects of
Yes.
English Archives.
I thought you were going to say archetype, and like an archetype accent,
Well, that's what you get away from when you go to idea.
right?
.com, maybe, I don't know. But it has real people talking through that generic sort of
this is-
story, you know.
This is an archive of
Yes.
speakers so
Yes.
that you can hear their sound.
Yeah.
Let's just get that
I've
down. What is
used-
that? So I can use that?
International
Yeah.
Dialects of English Archives, idea.
Makes sense. Idea.com.
Idea or something. Just Google.
International Dialects of English
Archives.
Archives.
Fantastic.
Brilliant.
But when you go to this, I mean, as actors, it's so good for, really understanding the fundamentals
I've
of
not
a
used that
genuine
website.
accent.
That's cool. Thanks.
Strange. I've used that quite a few.
Have you?
times.
I've
fantastic.
looked up accents in different ways on YouTube. So thanks. That'll be
Yeah.
one
More
on
credit
YouTube.
to Sheree Moore from the Actors Program who
Yeah, cool.
shared it with us.
That's cool. Well, that's great, mate. Thanks for coming on and sharing that. We both wish you well.
Yeah. Thanks so
for
much.
the outcome.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Thank you
It
for
was a good
having me.
chat.
Thank you for letting me speak.
All right. All right, everyone. We'll see you next time on Reality Hub.